Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you stack silver and you like your daily news to be unfiltered, uncensored, and unbiased, then you come to the right place because I do exactly that. So make sure to subscribe and definitely click the bell so you immediately get notified every time I post, because I talk about stuff nobody else does, and I dive into topics that nobody else wants to. For example, I'm sure you didn't know about this. New Jersey just passed a bill exempting bullion from sales tax, and this heads straight to the governor. And this would exempt gold, silver, and other metals. And this heads to the desk of Governor Phil Murphy after the state Senate passed it unanimously on Monday. You know, this is not common stuff. This is stuff that you got to search for, and I do that searching for you. This is not stuff that's on mainstream media. For example, did you know that silver was the #1 performing asset in 2020? I'm sure you didn't know that, but I talked about it. But mainstream media did not touch that. If it would have been gold, or if it would have been Tesla stocks or something, every news outlet would have talked about it. But since it was silver, it went basically unnoticed. And every time I bring that up, people are like, silver was the #1 performing asset in 2020? It was? Yeah, look at this chart. In 2020, which this periodic table came out 20 hours ago, when I say I'm giving you guys the newest, latest information, I'm being serious. Silver was the #1 performing asset in 2020, and it rose 47.89%. It was down to $11 in March of 2020 to almost, $30 by the start of the next year, obviously from a lot of factors like COVID and Wall Street silver. But regardless, this is stuff that you need to know, but a lot of times you won't know unless you're subscribed to my channel, or at least a channel similar to mine that talks about the different types of topics that I do. But respectfully, I don't know too many other channels that cover the wide array of things that I do, but also post as consistent as I do. Plus, given the interviews with Andy Scheckman and the in-person stacking videos, I just feel like my channel is very diverse, and I offer a lot on my channel instead of just one category. And I'm not hating on any other channels. There's 100 channels I could name off the top of my head that I also recommend you subscribe to. But I'm just being honest. Like, I definitely think that my channel is something you could benefit from, and it's not for my sake, it's for your own. So I'm going to dive into this article now. It's titled "Silver's Underpriced Given Supply and Demand Dynamics." What are they talking about? Well, the Silver Institute, it's actually not this. This is another one that went off their numbers. But the Silver Institute posted their review. And this guy, a couple hours ago, probably 12 hours ago, posted this article diving into those numbers, saying that silver is underpriced given supply and demand dynamics. Global industrial demand for silver in 2023 is expected to set a record, leading to another big market deficit, according to preliminary projections by the Silver Institute. Actually, let me pull up exactly what the Silver Institute said in that PDF, because it is very, very important to look at. Where is it? It's should be right here, somewhere around here. I'm just not seeing it. Here we go. So it is talking about how global silver industrial demand forecast to reach new highs in 2023. This article, or I guess this PDF, came out 2 days ago. So it's the most recent updated stuff when we're talking about the numbers, the fundamentals. And I think that's important to note. So that's what he's going off of. And he says silver isn't currently priced for this dynamic. Silver Institute released preliminary supply and demand numbers at its silver industry dinner in New York City in November. Industrial silver demand is projected to rise by 8% to a record 632 million ounces. According to the Silver Institute, investment in photovoltaics, power grid, and 5G networks, growth in consumer electronics, and rising vehicle production all help drive industrial demand higher. But industrial silver demand will be offset by lower physical investment demand. So silver coins and bar demand is projected to drop by 21% to 263 million ounces after setting a record in 2022. This is primarily due to big drop in silver investment in India and Germany. Record high local silver prices in India drove profit taking throughout most of the year. In Germany, a value added tax or VAT hike on some silver coins at the start of 2023 dampened investor enthusiasm. So even with the year-on-year decline overall in investment demand, it remained at a historically high level globally. Strong investment sentiment in North America helped offset the decline in India and Germany. Investment in paper silver also dropped in 2023. The Silver Institute projects record outflows for ETFs or exchange traded funds for the second straight year due to monetary tightening and a boost in yields. Outflows are expected to drop by 40 million ounces, about one-third of 2022's record outflows. Excluding India, global jewelry demand is expected to rise slightly in 2023. India will see a decline in jewelry demand after a record surge in 2022. Silverware is expected to decline by as much as 12% globally. And overall, silver demand will drop by about 10% to 1.14 billion ounces. However, according to the Silver Institute, total demand remains historically elevated and will come in at a second highest level in history. But let me stop right here. Now, you see silver demand will drop by 10% to 1.14 billion ounces. This number is extremely under exaggerated. And let me tell you why. Well, Silver Institute gets their numbers from a lot of different sectors, like photography, jewelry. You can see them all right here: photography, jewelry, silverware, investment, all these different things. But they don't. They leave out. I don't know if it's purposely or it needs to be revised. They leave out a few critical sectors that that need a lot of silver. I'm talking about military and aerospace. It takes 500 ounces of silver to fill one Tomahawk missile. One Tomahawk missile requires an entire monster box of Eagles. And once that monster box of Eagles gets dropped and obliterated on the ground, that Tomahawk missile is obliterated, that silver's gone. Think of how many wars are going on right now. Think of how much silver, and it's not just missiles. We're talking about satellites, surveillance, all of these different technologies in the military sector and aerospace. That also requires a lot of silver, but these two are not included in their numbers. So it's a lot higher than 1.14 billion ounces, also meaning that the supply deficit, which is 200 plus million ounces, is even greater. And now when you hear stories like I covered a couple months ago, where the U.S. military was raiding our silver stockpiles, the United States silver stockpiles, it makes sense, because you think that the military just can say, oh, they need that silver to make more EVs, or they need that silver to make solar panels. We can't use any more missiles, or we can't put up the satellites to win a war or help to help security or to reinforce our army because they need that silver to make a couple solar panels. No, and rightfully so. I hope they're willing to overthrow a couple of freaking satellites or solar panels to make sure that they have their military equipment. You know, that should trump it. Pun intended. I feel like military should trump any type of EV. That, you know, regardless, on a serious note, you can see why the deficit or even just these numbers aren't completely accurate. And on the supply side, global mine production is anticipated to fall by 2% to 820 million ounces, driven by lower output from operations in Mexico and Peru, which those two countries alone accumulate nearly half of all global silver supply. Nearly half. It's 40-something%, just those two countries. So falling silver production in Mexico seems to be developing as a trend. Country has historically ranked as the world's top silver producer, but Mexican mine outputs dropped 25% in the last 2 years. Ever since COVID, it really got, and Mexico and Peru got hit hard from COVID. So that really messed up the production for silver, because then you had all the boundaries and the borders that were cut off, and then minimal workers at the mines. A lot of mines were shut down for a while. It was just, trying to transport silver across the globe was a very, very hard task during that time frame. So here we have the actual numbers. So silver supply and demand. Here's the numbers. So 2013 mine production 845 million ounces, and you can see, but that was with demand at 1 billion, around 1 billion ounces. And then you could see, let's say 2020 mine production 783 million ounces. Obviously they got hit pretty hard, but demand was only 923 million ounces. It wasn't even a billion, but it shows the loss, I guess you could even say. And I would say let's go to 2023. Mine production fell 820 million ounces, you can see, which is one of the lowest years, which is very scary because we're still above a billion ounces. At 1.143, the year before it was 1.270. Like you guys hear me say a lot, 1.21 billion ounces is actually 1.27. They also had to revise some of these numbers, but remember, these numbers aren't exactly accurate because, one, you can't incorporate recycling and all that. There's just so many different sectors, especially that silver is used for, as it's the most highly conductive metal. It's used in everything. It's hard to keep up with all of that and how much is recycled and how much is lost and thrown away. And so anyways, given the current macroeconomic environment and supply and demand dynamics, silver appears to be significantly undervalued at $23 to $25 an ounce. So according to the Silver Institute's projections, 2023 will be a third consecutive annual deficit in a row. And also, let me talk about this. He's mentioning how silver is undervalued. Gold is not undervalued because it's at record highs. So if you're trying to invest into something, let's say you're new and you're trying to decide on whether you want to invest in a silver or gold right now, would you rather invest into something that's underpriced or something that's not underpriced? Underpriced, right? So gold is not the asset to get into right now. Silver is. Let's say the gold to silver ratio was very, very low, then maybe gold would be. But right now, silver is. When the gold to silver ratio is higher, that means that gold is outperforming silver. When the gold to silver ratio is dropping, that means silver is outperforming gold. And when the ratio is high right now, that means that silver most likely is going to start outperforming gold because the ratio needs to start to correct again. And, gold's sitting at all-time highs. So why would you invest into something that's already at its highest price, where silver is not even half of its highest price, and it always lags and follows gold? Silver is definitely a better investment right now, by far. Not even just in terms of the gold to silver ratio, but in general, silver has more opportunity and potential given the same reasons this guy's talking about in this article, given the same the numbers from the Silver Institute or the periodic table or going into anything. There's so many different reasons why, but they are both great investments. Gold has its place as well. You can fit $100,000 of gold in your hands. You can't do that with silver. So if you're talking about storage and I guess just stability, gold also is great for that. And I recommend diversifying in both. But my name is Silver Slayer, not Gold Slayer, for a reason. The Silver Institute called the 2022 deficit possibly the most significant deficit on record. It also noted that the combined shortfalls of the previous 2 years comfortably offset the cumulative surpluses for the last 11 years. So all of this catching up we did, just the last 2 years destroyed that. And meanwhile, the demand for solar is rising rapidly and projected to drive the industrial demand for silver significantly higher. And now he's going to go into some stuff that I really need you guys to understand, and I really need you guys to soak in, because this really breaks down the reality of us trying to go green, or if anyone is saying the silver shortage is highly exaggerated and we're just being dramatic or we don't know what we're talking about. They're not looking at the macro. They're looking at the year-to-year numbers, and they're not really thinking this through. And this right here, this next section of the video, beautifully explains this and breaks it down. So I hope you guys are still watching. So due to its outstanding electrical conductivity, silver is an important element in the production of solar panels. It's used to conduct electrical charges out of the solar cell and into the system, PV cells, photovoltaics. Each solar panel only uses a small amount of silver, but with demand for solar panels growing exponentially every year, those small amounts of silver add up. Plus, not even that, AI. Silver is used in AI chips and a lot of other things. So according to a research paper by scientists at the University of New South Wales, solar manufacturers will likely require over 20% of the current annual silver supply by 2027. By 2050, solar panel production will use approximately 85 to 98% of the current global silver reserves. It cut that number in half because think of all the other sectors. This is just solar panel production using all of the reserves. Recession worries would typically dampen industrial demand for silver, but photovoltaic industry is essentially recession-proof due to support from governments around the world, right? These are mandated things, regardless of what the economy is like. This is a mandated project to go green. So with battling climate change as a priority, it is highly unlikely investment in solar and other green energy technologies will fall even during an economic downturn. All of this signals a rapid increase in silver demand in an environment of constrained supply. And while industrial offtake accounts for roughly half of global silver demand at its core, silver is a monetary metal. It tends to track with gold over time. In fact, silver often outperforms gold during a gold bull run. So in other words, if you're bullish on gold due to the prospect of loosening Federal Reserve monetary policy and a resurgence of inflation, you should be bullish on silver as well, and even more bullish for the other reasons. So since the world went to a total fiat money system, there seems to be some correlation between the silver to gold ratio and central bank money creation. During periods of central bank money printing, the gap tends to shrink. For instance, it plummeted in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis as the Fed engaged in extreme monetary policy. And then what happened 3 years later? $50 silver. Silver isn't currently priced for this dynamic. In fact, silver is significantly undervalued compared to gold. Significantly undervalued. So given the current silver price, gold to silver ratio, supply and demand dynamics, silver appears to be on sale. And it is on sale. And if you guys don't think that $23, $24, $25 for an ounce of silver is extremely cheap, then just don't invest into it, because that means you don't understand the value of silver, and even more importantly, you don't understand the value of a dollar. And that right there is two fundamental things you need to know before you're investing into silver, precious metals. So anyways, yeah, I thought that was very important. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff, and you guys also should look into what's happening with all these states and all these states that are bringing back the gold standard and all these states that are signing up for this to happen and how that's going to affect your state. All this is very important stuff, and I hope you guys are subscribed because I cover it all here, folks. So yeah, anyways, make sure to subscribe. Also remember, if you want to purchase silver, just email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com. I will hook you guys up. We got weekly specials, great prices on everything. So yeah, slayer@milesfranklin.com. Also, make sure to subscribe and click the bell. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.